Have this one, right?
Alrighty. Alright, Gary, can we start on your first word, sir?
Okay, how many of you are the first to go, to attend college in your family? It's a pretty big responsibility in a lot of different ways, maybe some that you don't really think about, but I'll tell you a little more about that in this presentation. College is a great investment. However, it's gotten to a point where it's very expensive and actually unaffordable for most of the people in our country. I mean, I have an understanding that all of us here are in the pursuit of a higher education, and that most of us, if not all of us, are kind of stretching ourselves thin in order to pay through college, right?
Totally.
So, I myself have been in college for 5 years, and I myself have been gone through a lot of financial difficulty to try to pay off through college, but I can say that come May 20th, I'm going to graduate debt-free completely, which is pretty good. And I've also conducted a lot of research through peer-reviewed journals and articles that will help back up what I'm about to present today. So, college is a great investment, as I said, but it's a very expensive investment. And today I would like to argue that the current payment methods to get through college actually do more harm than good to us in the long run. First, I'll be talking about the effect that credit cards have, the negative effect that credit cards have on college students. And then secondly, I'll be discussing student loans and the burden that they have on us now, and then more so in the future once we're done with college. And then lastly, I'll be talking about the alternatives of which we should take in order to completely go away from debt and when it comes to college. So now that I gave a brief overview of my speech, I'm going to start off with the first point, which is credit cards. Now, credit cards have a negative effect when it comes to college students, and the first one I would say is psychologically, because according to psychosocial factors impacting college students, an online journal stated in 2013, faced with taxing financial situations, graduates with high credit card debt report daily emotional stress, low self-esteem, decreased confidence in managing economical resources, and diminished psychological well-being. And another effect that I felt like credit cards have is that you don't really know that the poor decision that you're making now actually really affects you a lot later. And according to college-based personal finance education, student interest in 3 delivery methods, an article in the Journal of Financial Counseling and Planning in 2011 stated, students who graduate with low credit scores face barriers in finding employment because prospective employers with poor positions with fiduciary or financial responsibilities frequently check applicants' credit reports. Furthermore, student credit histories affect their ability to rent an apartment and qualify for an auto or home loan, as well as the insurance premiums and interest rates they pay. And right up there you can see is a chart of the average credit card debt, and it's about $1,000 for college students, around when you graduate, which is not a lot, but if you miss payments, their interest rate on those are really high, that could become a problem very quickly, more than you would think. Now that I talked about how credit cards are a negative effect on college students, I'm going to talk about my second point, which is student loans. Now, student loans are a forced burden that on college students that carry on way after graduation. And an example to show this is that tuition has increased, but the time to pay it off really hasn't. And according to the financial impact of student loans peer-reviewed article, May Loom stated that, for example, the average total tuition for a 95 graduate for a 4-year program was $10,300. The average student graduating a 4-year program in 05 paid $16,900. Although debt loads have increased somewhat, the payment period after graduation has not increased substantially. On average, the number of years that students expected to take to repay their loans did not differ significantly between 95 and 05, 7.2 years and 7.4 years, respectively. That's not a lot of time. And then another issue is that it has become a crisis in our country. According to Zach Friedman, a contributor to Forbes magazine on February 21st, 2017, stated, student loan debt is now the second highest consumer debt, only behind mortgages. It is higher than credit card and auto loans, and according to Make Lemonade, there are more than 44 million borrowers with $1.3 trillion in student loan debt alone in the US. And the average debt for a 2016 graduate was $37,172. And here's a chart kind of explaining our current debt, and then 2025 is expected to actually double, that's a big problem for our country. I just finished talking about how student loans are a burden on college students way after graduation, and now I'm going to discuss an alternative of which I have myself been able to do to avoid this extreme. And the first one has been to apply for scholarships. It's very important. According to Scholarship America, contributor to US News on July 7, 2011, stated, yes, going to college is worth it. Your degree is one of the most lucrative investments you will make. The cost of attending college may seem daunting, but that's exactly why finding, applying, and receiving scholarships are essential to ensure that you won't be struggling to make huge loan payments upon graduation. Scholarships are no longer just a bonus. They are crucial for bridging the gap between the cost of rising tuition and what you and your family can afford to pay. And another tactic that I found would be useful is getting a part-time job. I know that having a part-time job is difficult, especially with all the responsibilities that college already is demanding of us, but it is very beneficial in that you won't have to use so much of your credit card to make purchases. You could actually reduce the amount of debt that you could accumulate, or you could actually eliminate your debt completely. And plus, it builds a lot of character when you get through college by your own means. It teaches you a lot about living within your own means, which is a very important lesson to learn at this age, so when you're older, you can carry that as you go. And now that I just finished talking about the alternative of which we can use in order to stay away from credit cards or anything of that nature, let's bring this to a close. First, I talked about credit cards and the negative effect that they can have on college students. And secondly, I talked about student loans and the burden that they are on college students in our life now and then afterwards, way after we graduate. And then lastly, I gave the alternative about how having a part-time job and applying for scholarships is very beneficial and can help us stay away from those extremes. And college is a great investment. Unfortunately, this investment is very expensive, and today I would like to argue that the current methods of paying through college cause more harm than good in the long run. And there's a scripture in Proverbs 22 verse 7. It says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." Thank you.